Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this week I am in Shropshire at one of the most elevated churches in England at Bettws Crwyn. I know it's a Welsh name, but this is literally on the border, and you therefore have quite a number of Welsh names over the border because, of course, well, the English were the ones who ended up winning the wars, and Welsh land was therefore taken and incorporated into England. But Bettws Crwyn is a medieval church, probably the oldest part's around about 1300. And then the rood screen you can see behind me, and the church ceiling, the roof rather, date from the about 1500, so the early years of the 16th century. This is a humble church, as most of these little borders churches are. It was largely restored in the 19th century when the present chancel was built, when the porch was built, and when the thatch on the roof was replaced with slate, also when the font was replaced, and we shall see it later. It was only in 1871 that the church gained an actual vicar of its own. Prior to this point it was served by perpetual curates, which effectively is a case of, this is not a parish, it is a chapel, as it were, but it was served by somebody who was appointed to this particular church. He would only live in a cottage. Certainly at least one of them combined the perpetual curacy here with that of Llanfair or Waterdene nearby. And in 1952 the church again lost its sole vicar and became part of a wider group of churches, as is the norm now in the Church of England. Well, let's have a look around and see what we can see in this ancient and very elevated church. And so, as usual, we start at the west end. Here we have the font. This is Victorian. There's an older font, or what's left of it, namely the bowl, in the churchyard. Bettws Crwyn Church stands some 1,300 feet above sea level, making it, as I said in the introduction, one of the most elevated churches in England. I don't like to say highest because, of course, in ecclesiastical terms, high has, shall we say, rather different meanings about ceremonial. Here is the 16th century roof. There's a number of good ones like this in Shropshire, and indeed in the Welsh borders, in the marches around here, some in Shropshire, some in Wales. The benches, pews are, as you can see, rather rustic. They have these, just pull out a bit, poppy heads on them, and you can see lower down here many of them are marked with the names of the farms to which they belonged, pew rents being very much a thing. Also, because it's quite helpful, it means that you can see if you're sitting in somebody else's seat. The war memorial we have here, the men of the parish who fell in the Great War: John Bright, Evan Price, Tom Harding, Willie Phillips, William Pritchard, Willie Evans, Frank Brown and Tom Price. And you can see there the mixture of English and Welsh names. Price, Evans, Phillips, Pritchard are all very much Welsh names. Harding, Bright and Brown more English. We proceed further eastwards. There are very few memorials here. We have here a memorial to James Cadwallader, Cross House, who departed this life September 24th, I think it's 1818. His wife died 1799. Lectern. Here is this rood screen made of Spanish chestnut. Doesn't mean it came from Spain, it's simply the type of chestnut. Someone has put a rather rustic cross on it. Obviously, originally it would have been painted, and there would have been the full rood up there. The pulpit is a two-decker. There would have been a third deck. It is now gone. The pulpit is still a two-decker reading desk in front of the pulpit, and of course that there is the modern electric organ. A bit close up to the pulpit there, you can see that the screen is pierced, and we've got this rather nice, very nice tracery on the screen. Through into the chancel, the rails look to be 18th century. They have that sort of elegance to them. And here is a memorial to the Reverend John Jones, late curate of Llanfair Waterdene, and this parish, who died May the 21st, 1767, aged 66. He was a loving husband and tender father, a peaceable good neighbour, always ready to visit the distressed, and his surviving friends will long lament his loss. The only stained glass here is a few patterned windows. Here you can see we have the alternating cross and the well, it's often referred to as the IHS model. It's not IHS, it is yes. It's the first three letters of Jesus in Greek. It has nothing to do with ISIS, contrary to Alexander Hislop's silliness. There we go. Yes, it's it's all repeating here. Now then, turn around properly, and we can see the inside of the screen. The point of the rood screen, of course, was to separate off the chancel and the nave. It separates off the chancel as the holy place, or the most holy place, where the mystery of the Mass was performed. This is why they were often removed at the Reformation. Quite a lot of rood screens survive here in the marches and in other desolate and remote places. Again, 1,300 feet above sea level. So there we have it, inside at Bettws, Crwyn. I probably mispronounced it. It may be pronounced Bettws, but there we go. I'm not Welsh, but neither is this church. Well, let's go outside now. And so here we are outside at Bettws Crwyn. The medieval church is basically the nave, and probably the oldest parts are the north and south walls of the nave, so the wall you can see here and the one on the other side. And before the Victorians, the roof was thatched. It was replaced with slate, partly because slate doesn't need to be replaced as often, so it's partly a cost saving in the long run measure. Slate's more expensive to buy in the first place, but it's more hard wearing. Well, let's have a look around the outside and see what we can see, particularly before the rain comes back. So here we are. This is the south side, which is the normal entrance front, although the road that was used for access mostly is on the north side, but you do have to walk around to the south, which is fair enough. You can see here this tiny medieval building, and then the Victorian chancel. As we walk round, just trying to keep the church in shot while also seeing where I'm going so I don't fall over and break something. So there we have it. That's from the southeast. Single bell. The windows, of course, are all Victorian. They would have been much simpler windows before, probably square-headed as well. It's quite common, in fact, for these to be replaced with casement or occasionally sash windows, but this was a rather too humble building perhaps the sash windows, and the view, because we are 1,300 feet up, there are compensations, the obvious one being that there's a wonderful view down into the valley below. So there we are, hills, I suspect this is the old vicarage here, it appears to be derelict. There's the east end. And we'll go round the north side, and then round the west, and back to the porch. Now, when the church was thatched, there was of course always a danger with thatched buildings of them catching fire, and so there would have been a pair of poles slung under the eaves on hooks. The hooks are still there, which could be taken down if there's an emergency with one of the thatched houses in the village, and they would use them to pull off the burning thatch. Nowadays, I think there are only thatched houses in the village, although you can still find thatched houses in Shropshire. There we have, you see these simple, on the north side, much simpler with these single lancet windows rather than the double lancets that there are on the south side. Now, someone's planted Leylandii, so I shall have to watch my head and we shall have to watch the camera. And so here we are, this is the we walk around here, we see the west end. Again, let's move away from the Leylandii, and there is the west end. Drink, drink. So there we have it, Bettws, Crwyn. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.